What is the best age to retire? We've got all kinds of numbers you often hear out there: 59 and a half, 60, 62, 65, 67, 70. Is there an ideal number for you? Well, we do have a lot of laws that you can take into account and also some survey data to hopefully help you with your decision. Now, my name is Scott Caufield. I'm a CPA and CFA charter holder and the founder of Sophos Wealth Management. So let's start with MassMutual came out with a nice study, and they actually have an answer. They said that on average, 63 is the ideal age according to both retirees and pre retirees. And I think that is an interesting answer. There's a lot of valuable data in this MassMutual survey. So they found that according to the survey, the average US retirement age is 62. They say that 48, so nearly half, 48% of retirees ended up retiring earlier than they had planned. Only 10% end up retiring later than they had planned. And a majority of retirees end up feeling more relaxed, less stressed, and happier ever since they retired. So, kind of giving some weight to the possibility of early retirement. In fact, they say 67%, so about two-thirds of retirees report being happier, and only 8% report being less happy. Now, there are some downsides, like the number one activity of retirees is watching TV, according to the study. Maybe not the ideal retirement, at least in my opinion. So let's just talk about some of the other ages that you commonly see. So at the young end, you'll see an age as early as 55. This is because of the rule of 55. If you leave your current employer, either fired or choose to leave, you can actually withdraw from your 401k penalty free. Now, you'll still owe taxes on it, like a normal IRA withdrawal or normal 401k withdrawal, but you won't have to pay taxes or you won't have to pay the 10% early withdrawal penalty. It is crucial to note that this only applies to the 401k associated with that employer that you left. It does not apply to other IRAs, 401ks at earlier employers, so on and so forth. And we found, if you look at data according to like the Employee Benefit Research Institute, they say something like only 17% of retirees leave the workplace in their 50s, so between 50 and 59. Not a very common window. Most people just do not have the financial resources for that to even be an option. Next benchmark age would be 59 and a half. This is where you can access your IRA, 401k, Roth IRA money and not have to pay any 10% early withdrawal penalty. There can be, some little exceptions. You gotta have your Roth open 5 years, but by and large, this allows a lot of people to really consider retirement. They can tap those retirement funds. It's an early age that people often do think about, but there's a pretty big gap of time between here and 65 when you get Medicare. And anyone who has paid out of pocket for health insurance, not through an employer, understands what a massive, massive cost this can be. So that does make it challenging to bridge the gap. And also, you don't have Social Security yet, which leads us into the next most common age, 62. This is your earliest Social Security eligibility age. Benefits obviously are reduced from full retirement age, 30% less than taking it at full retirement age. But you see a lot of people do retire at this age, 62. And then, really, the next big one is age 65. And this is one of the most common retirement ages. In fact, even though the Mass Mutual survey showed that the average retirement age was 62, there's other data like provided by the OECD that says the average US retirement age is actually 65. This is where Medicare kicks in. Very important that you don't forget to sign up around that 65th birthday. You don't want to end up paying higher premiums in the future because you forgot. But not having to pay out of pocket outside of, parts B and D, not having to pay out of pocket healthcare is a huge consideration for many. And this is why this is a very popular retirement age. Also, again, you can take Social Security here with less of a reduction versus your full retirement age. Now, we bump up to full retirement age, currently 67 for Social Security. That's kind of the next major popular age. And then less popular would be age 70. That's when you're going to get the full maximum Social Security benefit, plus it has grown at 8%. It's not going to grow any past 70. And even fewer people will delay all the way to 73. That's when your RMDs have to come out of your accounts for people retiring now or turning 73 now. Not many people still are unretired at this age, but hey, look at Warren Buffett. He's just now stepping down as the CEO of Berkshire, and I think he's about 94. So, it happens. Now, what are some things to think about? Like, what is the actual optimal age? I mean, we saw 63 in that survey. I think there are some obvious trade-offs, and it's going to depend on your individual situation. First of all, what is kind of your purpose? What are your values? Do you want to spend a lot of time with your family? Do you want to volunteer? Faith? What are your passions? What do you enjoy doing? And the answer to that is going to drive so much. I mean, you see some people with really active, phenomenal retirements, and there's an argument that they should do it basically as early as they financially can. They've got that rich social network, family and connections already. They're deeply embedded in their church or their community or their Rotary group or whatever it is. And you can see why people would tend to want to do that earlier. The flip side, some people, a big part of their social network is their coworkers, is that job can often give a lot of meaning to their life. And when you step away, social isolation can be a big problem. So, and I mean, social isolation can also lead to dementia and all kinds of early problems. Again, you see the average retiree spends over 4 hours per day just watching TV. Having that social network in place before retiring, I think, is really important, really valuable. Avoiding that TV trap, that social isolation. And then the other thing too is, making sure that your diet, your exercise, your health are taken care of, kind of getting that squared away, hopefully before retirement, but certainly in retirement. Now, that being said, we go back to that MassMutual study, and they show that for many retirees, the worries about not having things to do, the worries about social isolation and retirement end up being overblown. That's why most of them report being relatively happy or happier in retirement. Not that many report being less happy. So, I think obviously job one, take care of your finances. Job two, outside of your finances, take care of your personal life and your goals and that kind of stuff. And, to that extent, in some ways, the earlier you can retire, the better. There's a reason the fire movement is so big. I think for most, though, that number, that 63, does stand out as a great age because you're only 2 years away from Medicare kicking in. You can pull some levers in terms of optimizing your taxes. You can do things like Roth conversions if you're not taking Social Security yet, to kind of better optimize your overall future tax profile. So you get some interesting financial dials you can pull. If you retire, then you typically still have enough health and vitality and energy to travel and do the things you want to do. So I think it's a great age, but there are many people who want to retire 55, who want to retire 45. Some people can't retire until 70 or later. So again, it's going to depend on your situation. It's going to depend on your values and the things that you enjoy doing. But hope this gave you some ideas on the optimal age. Love to hear what you're looking at, when you retired, if you're already retired, and how you enjoyed it. Appreciate you tuning in today. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share with anyone else you think would benefit. Thanks.